The edge of extinction. The quantum com burst at 300 hours, jerking Commander Elena Reyes from her fitful sleep. The message was encrypted with the highest clearance codes, a direct transmission from Admiral Zhang himself. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pressed her palm against the scanner, the blue light washing over her face as the holographic display flickered to life. Commander Reyes. Zhang's weathered face appeared, the strain of recent months etched deep in the lines around his eyes. What I'm about to share is classified beyond your current clearance. I'm breaking protocol because we've run out of options. The Assembly has made their final decision. Elena felt her throat tighten. 6 months ago, the Assembly of Worlds, the governing body of the 27 most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy, had begun formal proceedings to classify humanity as an evolutionary mistake. A species too volatile, too unpredictable to be allowed continued expansion into the stars. The vote was unanimous. Zhang continued, his voice hollow. All diplomatic channels have been exhausted. Our intelligence indicates they're mobilizing the purification fleet. Earth has less than 72 hours. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The purification fleet. Everyone had heard the whispers. A force assembled only when the Assembly deemed a species too dangerous to exist. It had been deployed only twice in recorded history. And both times, nothing remained of the targeted civilization, but ruins and academic case studies. Sir, what about the defensive grid? The Mars outposts? Elena asked, military training keeping her voice steady despite the ice forming in her stomach. Zhang's bitter laugh contained no humor. The grid was compromised 6 hours ago. Some kind of targeted quantum virus. The Mars outposts went dark shortly after. We're on our own, Commander. What are my orders, sir? Station Prometheus is now our last hope. You have the prototype. I'm authorizing full implementation under Protocol Omega. Zhang's eyes hardened. They think they've backed us into a corner, Elena. Show them how dangerous humans become when that happens. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Elena staring at her reflection in the darkened screen. Protocol Omega. The absolute last resort. Authorization to use an untested weapon platform that might save humanity, or finish what the Assembly had started. The observation deck of Station Prometheus offered an unobstructed view of Earth. Beautiful, vulnerable, and completely unaware of its imminent doom. Elena stood with her hands clasped behind her back, breathing slowly to calm the storm raging inside her. Behind her, the station's senior staff waited in tense silence. The purification fleet has passed Jupiter's orbit, Lieutenant Keller announced, his voice unnaturally steady. 36 vessels, including what appears to be 3 Harbinger-class destroyers. They're not taking any chances, Dr. Abernethy muttered, the chief scientist's usual bravado notably absent. 1 Harbinger would be enough to sterilize Earth's surface. Elena turned to face her team. These were the best minds humanity had to offer, scientists and soldiers stationed on Prometheus to work on projects deemed too experimental or too dangerous to develop on Earth. I just received confirmation that Protocol Omega has been authorized, she said. We're activating the Lazarus Project. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, muttered profanities, and one clear, "That's impossible," from the back of the room. Dr. Abernethy stepped forward, his face pale. Commander, Lazarus is theoretical at best. We've run simulations, yes, but the power requirements alone would drain our reserves. And even if it worked, the implications are irrelevant. Elena cut him off. Compared to extinction, any risk is acceptable. The Assembly called us reckless, Captain Rivera said quietly. Maybe activating Lazarus proves them right. Elena's gaze hardened. The Assembly didn't condemn us for being reckless, Captain. They condemned us for being human, for being unpredictable, for refusing to fit neatly into their carefully structured hierarchy. She looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes. Now we're going to show them exactly why they were right to fear us. The Assembly's declaration had taken no one completely by surprise. Humanity's entrance into the galactic community 50 years ago had been tumultuous from the start. While most species took centuries or millennia to develop faster than light travel, humans had done it in less than 100 years after their first primitive rockets. The Assembly had watched with increasing alarm as humans spread to nearby star systems, establishing colonies with what they considered reckless speed. Then came the Arcturus incident, a misunderstanding with the Jekthal, one of the Assembly's founding species, had escalated into a brief but bloody conflict. The humans had emerged victorious, destroying 3 Jekthal warships before diplomats could negotiate a ceasefire. The Assembly was shocked, not by the conflict itself, but by humanity's unexpected victory against a technologically superior opponent. From that moment, humanity's days were numbered. Not officially, of course. The Assembly maintained diplomatic relations, engaged in trade, and even invited human representatives to attend their grand councils. But behind closed doors, they debated whether humanity represented an existential threat to galactic stability. The decision, apparently, had been made. In the heart of Station Prometheus, beneath layers of security that would make Earth's most classified facilities seem like public parks, lay the central chamber of the Lazarus Project. Elena stood before the massive spherical device, its surface covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. "We've reconfigured the quantum matrix according to your specifications," Dr. Abernethy said, handing her a tablet. "But, Commander, I must again emphasize that we've never tested this at full capacity. The theoretical models suggest." "We're beyond theoretical models, Doctor," Elena replied, scanning the final diagnostics. "What's our window?" Lieutenant Keller checked his display. "The purification fleet will be in optimal firing range in 43 minutes. They're maintaining formation, showing no signs they've detected our true purpose." "Why would they?" Captain Rivera muttered. "As far as they know, we're just a research station. Not worth targeting until after Earth is dealt with." Elena nodded, her decision made. "Begin the activation sequence. Divert all power to the Lazarus core." The station lights dimmed as energy flowed into the chamber. The sphere began to emit a soft, pulsing glow, the patterns on its surface flowing like liquid metal. "Core temperature rising," a technician called out. "Quantum instabilities within acceptable parameters." "Target locks established," Keller confirmed. "All 36 vessels of the purification fleet are within the field projection radius." Elena took a deep breath. What they were about to attempt had never been done before, not even theorized outside the small group in this room. If it worked, humanity would survive. If it failed, well, they'd only be hastening the inevitable by a few hours. "Dr. Abernethy," she said, "initiate the final sequence." The scientist hesitated for just a moment, then pressed his palm against the authorization panel. "May God forgive us," he whispered. The sphere's gentle glow suddenly intensified, filling the chamber with blinding light. The station shuddered as vast energies coursed through systems never designed to channel such power. "Field integrity at maximum," someone shouted over the increasing rumble. "Quantum resonance established with all target vessels." Elena gripped the railing as the station shook violently. On the main display, she watched as an invisible wave emanated from Prometheus, washing over the approaching fleet. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy ships began to drift. The Assembly's representative, High Arbiters Excalon, was enjoying a moment of quiet satisfaction as the purification fleet approached its target. Soon, the troublesome humans would be erased, a regrettable necessity for the greater stability of the galaxy. He had personally cast the deciding vote, ending months of debate. The humans simply developed too quickly, adapted too readily, and fought too effectively when cornered. Their brief history was filled with violent conflicts among their own kind, yet they had somehow survived and even thrived. Such a species, given time to expand further, could destabilize the careful balance maintained by the Assembly for millennia. His meditation was interrupted by a frantic aide bursting into his private chamber, a shocking breach of protocol. "Forgive the intrusion, High Arbiter," the aide gasped, "but something has happened to the purification fleet." Zexcalan rose, antenna stiffening in alarm. "Explain." "They've gone dark, sir. All 36 vessels. No communications, no engine signatures, nothing." "That's impossible. The fleet contains redundant systems specifically designed to." The aide's communication device chirped. He listened briefly, his scales paling to a sickly yellow. "High Arbiter, we're receiving a transmission from the humans." The large screen on the wall flickered to life, revealing the face of a human female in a military uniform. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth Defense Force. Your purification fleet has been neutralized. They are unharmed but completely disabled. This is humanity's only warning. Recall your forces immediately or face consequences beyond your comprehension." Zexcalan felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. "What have you done?" he demanded. The human's expression remained impassive. "We've done what we always do when threatened, Arbiter. We've adapted. Your ships now exist in a state of temporal suspension, a bubble where time passes at 1/1,000,000th the normal rate. To their crews, mere microseconds have passed, but they will remain that way, frozen between moments until we decide otherwise." Impossible. Such technology was theoretical at best. Even the most advanced assembly scientists had concluded that selective temporal manipulation was millennia beyond current capabilities. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The purification fleet, the assembly's ultimate weapon, hung motionless in space. "This violation will not stand," Zexcalan declared, struggling to maintain his composure. "The assembly will." "The assembly will do nothing," Elena interrupted, "because now you understand what you've truly feared about humanity all along. Not our aggression, not our unpredictability, but our potential." The transmission ended, leaving Zexcalan staring at his own reflection in the darkened screen. The comfortable certainties of his long life suddenly shattered. The reckoning. 3 months after what historians would later call the Lazarus demonstration, the great hall of the assembly was eerily silent. 200 representatives from 27 civilizations, beings who had evolved on worlds circling different stars, whose ancestors had never known each other's existence until they reached for the heavens, all sat motionless, watching the human delegation enter. Elena Reyes led the small group, now wearing the formal uniform of Earth's United Defense Command. Behind her walked Admiral Jong, Dr. Abernathy, and 3 other high-ranking military and scientific leaders. They took their places at the center of the chamber, directly facing the Assembly's Council of Arbiters. High Arbiter Zexcalan rose from his seat, his normally iridescent scales dulled with stress. "This emergency session of the Assembly of Worlds will now commence," he announced, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into the standard galactic language. "We are here to address the situation regarding Earth and its colonies." The careful diplomacy in his phrasing wasn't lost on Elena. No mention of the planned genocide. No acknowledgement of the purification fleet still suspended in space, its crew experiencing mere seconds while months passed for the rest of the galaxy. 3 standard cycles ago, Zexcalan continued, humanity demonstrated a technology that challenges our understanding of physical laws. In light of this development, the Assembly has rescinded its previous classification of humans as an evolutionary mistake. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Elena maintained her composure, though inwardly she noted the Arbiter's careful avoidance of admitting they had planned to exterminate her species. "We propose a new treaty," Zexcalan said, "one that recognizes humanity's unique position and guarantees your autonomy within your current territories. In exchange, we ask for technical insights into your temporal manipulation technology and assurances that it will not be deployed against Assembly worlds." Admiral Jong leaned close to Elena's ear. "They're terrified," he whispered, "but they're still trying to control the narrative. Elena nodded slightly, then stood. The chamber fell silent again. "Honorable representatives of the Assembly," she began, her voice calm but carrying to every corner of the vast hall. "For 50 years, humanity has attempted to integrate into your galactic community. We have followed your protocols, respected your boundaries, and sought to learn from your accumulated wisdom." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the alien faces. "And in return, you plotted our extinction." The blunt statement sent a shockwave through the chamber. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Commander," Zexkalan interjected, "such inflammatory language." "Is the truth," Elena cut him off. "Let's dispense with diplomacy for a moment, Arbiter. You feared us because we didn't fit your models. Because in 50 years, we accomplished what took other species centuries. Because when backed into a corner at Arcturus, we fought back effectively. So you decided we were too dangerous to exist." She stepped forward, and to his credit, Zexkalan held his ground. "But you were right to fear us," Elena continued, her voice dropping. "Not because we are inherently violent or aggressive, but because we do not accept limitations. When faced with an impossible situation, we refuse to accept it as such. The temporal technology that saved us wasn't some secret weapon we were hiding. We developed it in the months after learning of your decision, specifically to counter the threat." Shocked whispers rippled through the chamber. Elena let the implications sink in. Humanity had created in months what the Assembly had deemed theoretically impossible, solely because they needed to. "I am not here to negotiate the terms of our submission," Elena stated plainly. "I am here to establish the new reality." Dr. Abernathy stepped forward, activating a holographic display that appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a three-dimensional map of Assembly space, with key military installations, government centers, and crucial resource worlds highlighted. "As we speak," Elena continued, 117 temporal displacement devices have been positioned throughout Assembly space. Each is capable of creating a stasis field like the one currently containing your purification fleet. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the normally stoic Jekthal representatives seemed frozen in shock. "This is outrageous," a Volare counselor finally sputtered, their tentacles writhing in agitation. "You threaten the entire Assembly. This proves exactly why your species was deemed too dangerous." "No," Elena replied calmly. "This proves why trying to exterminate us was a mistake. We don't want to use these devices. We don't want conflict with the Assembly. But we will no longer accept a subordinate position in this galaxy, nor will we live under the threat of extinction." She nodded to Dr. Abernathy, who changed the display to show a different set of coordinates. "These are the locations of our temporal displacement devices. We're giving you this information freely, as a show of good faith. You could attempt to destroy them, but I should warn you. They're programmed to activate automatically if tampered with." Admiral Zhang stepped forward. "We're not here to overthrow the Assembly or demand reparations for your attempted genocide. We're here to establish a new relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than fear and control." Elena watched as the Assembly representatives exchanged glances, some in anger, others in resignation. The power dynamic that had existed for millennia was shifting before their eyes. "What exactly are your demands?" Zexkalan asked, his voice barely audible. "Not demands," Elena corrected. "Conditions for peaceful coexistence. First, humanity will be recognized as an independent power, not subject to Assembly restrictions on expansion or technological development. Second, Earth will have a permanent seat on the Council of Arbiters, with equal voting rights. Third, the Assembly will publicly acknowledge the truth about the planned purification and formally renounce any similar actions against any species in the future." She paused, then added, "Once these conditions are met, we will release the purification fleet and share certain aspects of our temporal technology for peaceful applications only." The debate raged for 3 days. Some representatives argued passionately against capitulating to human blackmail. Others pointed out, pragmatically, that they had little choice. A very few, suggested that perhaps the assembly had been wrong about humanity all along. In the end, the vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The Treaty of New Beginning, as it came to be called, reshaped the political landscape of the galaxy overnight. Humanity would no longer be constrained by assembly dictates. Earth would have a voice in the highest councils, and most significantly, the assembly formally renounced its right to declare any sentient species an evolutionary mistake. As the signing ceremony concluded, Zexkalan approached Alina privately. "You've changed everything," he said quietly. 10,000 years of stability. Gone. Alina studied the ancient being before her. According to his file, Zexkalan had personally witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, had helped shape the assembly's policies for longer than humans had been writing their history. "Not stability," she replied. "Stagnation." The assembly grew comfortable, believing it had all the answers. You forgot what it was like to face the unknown, to adapt or perish. And you believe humans will do better. That power won't corrupt you as it has corrupted others. Alina smiled slightly. "I have no illusions about human nature, Arbiter. We can be selfish, short-sighted, even cruel. But we can also be brilliant, compassionate, and fiercely protective of those we consider our own." She gestured to the representatives mingling in the hall. "Over time, that circle of our own will expand to include all of you." Zexkalan's antenna twitched in what Alina had learned was a gesture of skepticism. "You seem very certain of humanity's destiny." "Not destiny," Alina corrected. "Choice. We choose to move forward, to explore, to grow. We choose to remember this day not as a victory over the assembly, but as the beginning of something better for all of us." She offered her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Zexkalan extended his upper appendage to complete the ritual. "I hope you're right, Commander Reyes," he said. "For all our sakes." 1 year later, Alina stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned diplomatic vessel Prometheus II, watching Earth grow smaller as they prepared to jump to the Arcturus system. The ship would be her home for the next 5 years, as she served as Earth's first permanent ambassador to the Reformed Assembly. Dr. Abernethy joined her. His attention focused on a tablet displaying the latest data from their continued research. "The temporal stasis field around the former purification fleet is dissipating exactly as calculated," he reported. "Within 24 hours, they'll be completely free." From their perspective, less than a second will have passed. Alina nodded. "And the crews?" "The medical team is standing by. Physically, they should be fine, but the psychological impact of learning they've lost a year of their lives in what seemed like an instant." He shrugged. "We'll provide whatever support they need." "Make sure they understand that this wasn't revenge," Alina said firmly. "It was necessity." Abernethy studied her profile. "Some would say we should have left them there, or worse. Then some would prove the assembly right about us." Alina replied. "We're better than that. We have to be." The ship's intercom chimed softly. "Ambassador Reyes, we're ready to make the jump to Arcturus when you give the word." Alina took one last look at the blue marble that had given birth to humanity. They had come so close to extinction, had stood at the very edge of oblivion. Yet here they were, not just surviving but reshaping the galaxy into something new. Not through conquest, not through subjugation, but through the very qualities the assembly had feared: humanity's relentless drive to overcome, to adapt, to transform impossibility into reality. "Make the jump," she ordered. As the stars blurred around them, Alina thought about the message they'd received from the Jekthal homeworld that morning. A previously unknown species had made contact, having just achieved faster-than-light capability. Under the old assembly rules, they would have been carefully managed, their development controlled, their expansion limited. Now, they would be welcomed as equals, guided but not restricted, supported but not controlled, because humans had changed the rules. They had tried to erase humanity from existence, believing them too dangerous to be allowed in their carefully ordered galaxy. Instead, humans now helped make the rules, not rules of control and limitation, but of cooperation and potential. And the stars were better for it.